So I did my crisis plan on Cabarrus Eye Center, which is a surgery center eye care facility in Concord, North Carolina, near Charlotte, if anyone doesn't know. So my plan is kind of short and sweet. They don't actually have a crisis plan right now, so mainly what I was doing was starting from scratch and kind of getting the basics down for them and what I think really would be the best solutions for a crisis should one occur. And I chose to focus on a phone outage. That was kind of like the crisis that I went with because they rely on phones very, very heavily, both internally and externally, like constantly nonstop phones all the time. So really, truly, it would be a huge crisis if the phones were to go down there, and something that I don't I think they're maybe prepared for in a way, but nothing this extensive. So I think that was a good direction to go with it. And like I said, they didn't have one before. So really I had not a lot to work with. I kind of just had to go with my gut and whatever I thought was going to work best. So as you can see on the right, my introduction is pretty short. I just wanted to get across the fact that this plan was developed for them specifically. So there's really no need to kind of take your own direction with it unless they're just changing it, which is totally fine, but like not to worry. I thought about this, it's for them, and that is why I created it. So next few pages are the acknowledgments, rehearsal dates, which I said should be once a year at their board meetings, because honestly, I don't think this is going to change a ton for them, really. So I think that would be plenty enough to go over it and kind of make a few changes. And they have a lot to talk about at those meetings. So there's no need to go over this, too much. As you can see here, I have my purpose and objectives and key publics. So with the purpose and objectives, you can kind of read through it. I'm not going to read every word for you, but I just wanted to get across that we care about the patients, number one, first and foremost. Whether there's a phone outage or not, they should be the priority and their healthcare should be number one, which it is. And that's really what was important to get across in this. Like, I know in times of crisis, it's probably really difficult to remember, not difficult to remember, but you know what I'm saying? It gets a little crazy. So just keep that in mind. It's about the patients. That's our number one thing. Key public. So obviously, the board of directors was really, really important because the owners of this office are all doctors that work there. A few of them are the owners of this facility. So obviously, they were really, really key publics to put in there. I also listed a few other ones, but another important one was customers, patients, one and the same. They were functional publics, and they wouldn't be in business without them. So they're important. The notifying publics are pretty short as well. I mean, it's a big office, but it's also a small office, if you know what I mean. Like, if there really was a phone outage, everybody would know within the office. At least it probably would take time to get out to the public, which I know this section is about, but I kind of touched on the fact that, kind of like, it's hard to, I don't know how to explain this very well, but in the really, really large corporation, like a nationwide corporation, like, it would probably take time for a crisis to like spread, for word to get around. But in terms of this office, it's really not obviously that big. So it would get around, it's in Concord and the surrounding areas are small towns. Like, it would get around, and I'll talk about later what they should do if this does happen, because obviously you can't call. So what else do you do? But you can read over my notifying publics. And the crisis team, as I mentioned, is 3 people that are the main people that are kind of have their hand in a different pot of everything in the office. So I thought they would be universal. They kind of know everyone, and they kind of coordinate the whole thing, and I think they would be perfect. So they're kind of who anyone goes to with the crisis now anyway, so why not make them the crisis team for this crisis? As you can see here, I have our emergency personnel, local officials, key media. It's not that exciting, just their name, phone number. Just to have everything in one place if you need it. Spokespersons for related organizations, also here, pretty simple, kind of the same as what we just saw. But the Crisis Communication Control Center, I decided that would be good to have at their main building where their conference room is, because that's kind of where the hub, everything happens. There's a few different buildings that are a part of this office, but that was really, the best place for everyone to meet, and have the address. Everyone knows where the office is, but couldn't hurt. The equipment and supplies are listed. The news release is also here, kind of what you saw in the book. I'm sure we all have similar ones. So the key messages for that, I really wanted to get across that, yes, the phones are down. It's bad. We are working to fix it as fast as we can. Come in for your appointment. We're not canceling anything. We're working on it. That's really what I wanted to get across there. And then their website, really what I felt like needed the most improvement was that they don't really talk about their optical shop and all. They have a lot of designer sunglasses and a really, really awesome team there. And it could use some updating. The whole website in general could. But that was like the main thing that I noticed, because I think a lot of people in this area know about like the specialist. Like, it's a huge office. Like, it's pretty like well known around the area. Most people go there for their eyes needs from all the surrounding like smaller towns and all of that. So I just think that would be a cool thing to hit on and emphasize, because I don't know if like a ton of people know that that's there and that's an option. So for blogs and social media, this one was also kind of difficult because they don't really use a ton of social media. They definitely do Facebook, but keep in mind a lot of these patients have the eye doctor are a little bit older. I mean, they have all ages, but really the large majority, or the majority at least, are older. So they not to stereotype, but they like Facebook. They don't really do like Twitter and all of that. So that's why Facebook was first. And I had a hard time thinking of the rest of these because, like I said, they're not really super focused on social media. Like, they're so busy as it is that that's not their top priority. Like some companies who are like really in touch with their social media, which I think is great, but that's just not where this company is. So I kind of had to get creative with that, but I think we came up with a few good things, so I'll let y'all read over that one. But the trick question, so this was interesting because it's hard for me to imagine like a phone crisis that bad where like they call in the news and the media. But I mean, you never know. Something could become a story. You never know what's going to happen. So I had a few examples here that I listed, and really like I just wanted them to stress that as long as you stay ahead of this and update the phones and make sure that all the system is connected and like the system that it runs on is working properly, then you're going to be okay. So prodromes, this is kind of like what I mentioned in the trick questions. Really, I wanted it to be really important that they just make sure that if something seems off with the phones or whatever, which it can happen occasionally, that they're just proactive about it and they take time to have their phone people come and look at it and make sure everything's connected and the wireless and everything is working smoothly together. And honestly, they should be okay. But you never know. Things do happen. So obviously, you can't always avoid everything. We all know that. But so the other related URLs, these ones are, I mean, I'm sure they have these numbers and all this information already, but I thought it couldn't hurt. These would be some important people to contact in the event that this should happen. And it's just nice to have everything in one place. So, yeah. And then you have my evaluation form, which really I focused on what is the feedback? What do we think? What can we do better next time? Improvement, all of that, which I think is what the point of evaluation form is anyways. But I couldn't find this in the book, which I know it said there was an example, and I saw like a paragraph about it, and I looked through and I couldn't find like a set in stone example, like follow this. So kind of made my own, and I thought just mainly what are your suggestions? What can we do better? How can we improve? And I think that's the point of all evaluation forms. So I kept mine pretty simple, and I think it's good, to the point. Kind of like, as you can see, my whole plan is pretty simple and to the point. And for this crisis and the way this office operates with like not a ton of social media, word of mouth mainly type of thing, like I just thought no need to overcomplicate this. Like it's just overcomplicating it for this is just going to make everything worse and harder to understand and follow. So kept it short and sweet, and I hope you enjoyed watching my presentation of my crisis plan.